guys, Theresa here from theresamonro.com. I wanted to pop on here and talk to you a little bit about the future of healing, and especially within like one-to-ones with me. There was a very intense most of my life. I mean, I was just going to tell you, like, the professional part of doing one-to-ones got super heavy, but I'll tell you, it got heavy long before that for me. And there's a number of practitioners that I consult and work with in terms of this particular issue. So if you're a healer or a practitioner and you're dealing with this, hopefully this is something you can possibly relate to. But I just want to talk to you a little bit about this. So for like the past 2 or so years, it was getting pretty heavy when you work with people's stuff, like core wounding and stuff that has held them back for multiple lifetimes, or things that they've been, trying to clear and needing assistance with. I've been very happy to provide assistance with that, helping people find the love that they want, be in the relationship that they want to be in, and that sort of thing. That's really been a joy for me to do. I can tell you though, when you listen, practitioners are going to feel this, and some of you that have listened to your friends complain all day long will know what this feels like. There's been a movement on the planet about shifting, complaining about how we think, and shifting our thoughts to being more positive, to manifesting more of what we want. And there's a reason for that, and it's because before we could have these patterns and we were still kind of protected, but now they've kind of taken the training wheels off and are like, okay, you're actually going to be manifesting more of what it is you're having based on your thoughts, even though they may not have changed over the past few years. And you may not have noticed a difference, but you're noticing how you're feeling is different, how the collective is feeling is different, and it may be feeling a little bit heavy for you. So went to see an intuitive or a healer to help you shift these things, or a spiritual teacher on how to keep your energy clear is very appropriate for those things. But some of the things that you've been starting to possibly see manifest in your life, it's like, but not much has changed, but it feels heavier. It's because they want the collective to take responsibility in a more active role, and not just a mental understanding of creating your own reality. Some people have understood that, and that's why what we're seeing in terms of they were talking pretty strongly about how fate was going out the window, and what's really happened is fate has been redefined. It's very strong for some of us now. It'll be an absolute must, like 100% pretty much online by 2020. Or within the year of 2020, because things are going to be shifted in a different direction for that, or at least people will realize, goodness gracious, I want my life to be better, and my old ways of being aren't working for me. How can I do this? So this is why they've been talking for the past like year and a half, and why you're starting to see so many classes on manifestation. And it probably should end up being titled something else in order for people to really truly understand what it is. People are thinking, yeah, I've heard the secret, I've heard these steps, I know how to manifest. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're suffering in some kind of way, that is an area where a manifestation one-on-one session could be really helpful for you. Some people, they've specifically wanted me to get on here and talk to you about like storytelling. So what happens is, the mind can't really tell the difference between what's real and when you're telling your stories and what's not. So sometimes you've heard, oh, just rewrite the story, and it's not been really clear, it's not felt super practical, where you can go back in the past and retell a story. That works for some people. They've really, it can be heavy though, like if you're a practitioner and you're listening to people complain all day, if you're at all empathic, or have struggled with keeping your own energy clear, or being in control of your own energy around others, this is something that might be helpful for you, because there's still boundaries around, okay, what do I enjoy? Is it fun listening to people's sob stories, or they're suffering all day long? And it isn't meant in a judgmental way at all. It's just, it can sometimes, if that's what you're listening to, it can be a bit difficult. on the body. It can feel a little bit heavy. If like you're someone like me who has been empathic and been really a big healer in your life, especially if you know children that are like this. I also work with children that are dealing with their gifts and they need an adult who can guide them in a different way, who was like them. I'm happy to assist them as well. But some of those children, and I was one of those, listen to people's sad stories for most of their life, and then help them to transmute it. It's a whole different story where kids are like absorbing it and transmuting it. That's an old angelic form of healing that's now leaving the planet because people are taking responsibility for their own healing in order for them to ascend and move on. So it's important with these, back to like talking about storytelling with the kids, it's important for them to not be absorbing that. And so that's a tool that I teach for adults and for kids in the one-to-ones. Now, part of what is shifted within the one-to-one work is I used to, and I still can hear, like when you're telling a story, I can hear all the patterns, all the lessons, all the perspectives, but it's a pretty heavy way to go about it. And also, I think it's, because I believe more in empowerment work and you being a participant in the healing process, I can still use the rays of light to go back and heal the past, and I can hear what it is in terms of where it is you want to go, in terms of what tool is best for you. Do you need to be keeping your energy clear? Are we, shifting our thoughts here? Is this about, absorbing and having energetic boundaries? I can pretty much tell what it is that would benefit somebody most. But in terms of one-to-one work, and this isn't just for me, but this is like the future of where healing's going to go, is about the storytelling is shifting. So a big portion within like a manifestation one-to-one is that you're going to be speaking to me about what it is that you want. And I help shift the wording because some people will word things in a way that they don't realize is going to manifest what they don't want. And it brings in the rays of light as well, and beings of light of manifestation that help you on top of homework of keeping lists of things that you want in a specific journal infused with the rays of light. If you just want the journal, that's something that you can purchase on my website to have infused with the rays for manifestation. But back to the storytelling, it wasn't very fulfilling for me to listen to sad stuff for 8 hours a day. And it made decent money. I was helping people. They felt great, but it was heavy for me. And this is really, I've talked to other, intuitives about this and other healers. There's a large portion that are going towards focusing on what the problem is versus focusing on the solution. So I know it may sound crazy, but people are used to, particularly here in the West, some form of suffering when it comes to healing. Oh goodness, I've got to, foam roll my, my IT bands and it's going to be painful. There's a way to be able to heal now that doesn't include any pain. Working with the rays of light, it's not going to be painful for you anymore. There are some people that have experienced like temporary back pain when it's moving stuff around, but sometimes it'll be for just like, it's not, what I'm saying is there are healing modalities that focus on the pain, that focus on the suffering, and they are asking, and they're stating really in the future, and for some of us right now, are shifting into something that we enjoy more because it brings more joy to the planet. So part of that is about storytelling within healing sessions. So part of it is like when you meet with me for a manifestation one-on-one, you will mention what it is that you want. So if you're suffering in a certain area, you'll mention what it is that you want in that area. And I walk you through it. Now, what's great about this is that it shifts your mindset about how you think about situations, and then you're able to change that and use that as a tool. So it's not just like a manifestation powwow, but you're shifting shifts. You're brought in with the rays of light to help you actually manifest what you want, and you now have a tool to be moving forward. This is a little bit different from keeping your energy clear. That's something that's for my empaths and people that it's a different. If you want to learn how to keep your energy clear, that's something that is helpful with it. But however, I just was kind of left unsatisfied and a little bit unbelieving when they're like, oh, go back to your past and just retell the story, you'll rewrite it. And to me, I'm like, what else is there to that? And that's when Spirit's like, no, bring in the rays, bring in us, and then retell the story in terms of where you want to go. So because sometimes when people come to a healing session, they're so used to focusing on what the problem is. Thank you, Mikael's reminding me of something to tell you a story. But when you show up for a session and you are talking about what your ailments are, it's very problem-based. It can take longer to heal that way compared to if you're like, okay, and it sets your mindset up for success if you're thinking about, okay, here's what I want. Don't worry about it if you can't figure out how to word it properly. I'm not going to like scold you for it. But the thing is, if you're able to focus on what it is you want, that trajectory will send you down a road that you want to be on. And it feels better. It's more fun to talk about like, oh, I'm trying to think. Like if you come to me for love or you come to me for finances and you're discussing where it is that you feel stuck. If you come to me and you're like, can you help me to figure out how my finances can increase? Can you help me to figure out how to attract the love that I'm looking for in my life? These are the sorts of things that are going to be able to assist you. There's several different options that we can go. One is being able to tell the story of what that looks like, to be able to have what it is you want in a love relationship, or what it is, like sometimes give you intuitive ideas in terms of business ideas to go out there and make money. There's every person I have ever met has some sort of entrepreneurial idea. And there's something right up underneath your nose, literally, in terms of a business idea that I can help you with. So I see it all the time. It's a lot of fun to do it. And I think that's something that I might be doing here in the group healing Facebook group. That's a paid membership. I might be doing that soon. Something else that Mikael comes forward with in terms of a story to let you know a little bit more, because some people like stories. I love stories. The angels tell stories and the ascended masters tell stories in terms of like their personal stuff so that you can learn from them. You can garner the wisdom. If you know how to really listen to somebody when they're telling a story, something that they've resolved, that kind of story, then you're going to be able to learn a tool in terms of, if it's something that you're going through and you've been asking for assistance on, and somebody starts telling a story about something that they've been through that they resolved, there's an answer in there for you. And this is stories that the angels and ascended masters tell, which are all associated with the rays of light, by the way. And some of you already know that. And that's, who I channel in my sessions. So the point is, Mikael's reminded me of a story. When I used to do, and it's something I don't specifically advertise about, there's been a couple of sessions where somebody's scheduled for something else and Mikael's like, oh, nope, we are, game plan, we are, going to do a full spiritual cleanse here. There's reasons why they don't mention it until it's happening. Of course, it's always by the permission of the person who's scheduled. However, what he mentions when it comes to doing like spiritual cleansing work is when you use him and you treat what it is that you are trying to cleanse or get rid of, or something that's serving you in some sort of way that maybe not of the light, I'm trying to watch my vocabulary here, but different unwanted things. If you treat it as if it's a problem, if you treat it as if it's unwanted, it struggles to be released. And it's sort of like emotions. Emotions can be the same way if it's something that we've been kind of taught to not accept, like anger or having an intensity about yourself, especially if you're a woman. Something I've had to suppress is the fact that I've got like half my chart in Scorpio, but I'm a Libra. So yeah, there's a certain intensity to, to people that have that kind of energy. There's a reason for it. It's why I'm good at what I do. But my point is, if you go after something, treating it like it's a problem, it takes a little bit longer for it to shift. Compared to, and that's where the first time I really saw that example, and Saint Germain at the same time had been talking about shift your focus. Stop focusing on what the problem is. Stop trying to heal the problem and focus on where it is that you want to go. Sometimes I've been trying to explain this and feel like I haven't done a really great job of explaining it. When they just show me, it's telepathic. So the more I communicate with them, sometimes I forget how to use the words, which is why they remind me right now. We'll just use us and we'll channel. So when you shift your thinking from seeing what the problem is and treating it like a problem and something that's unwanted, to doing spiritual cleansing that includes faith, which is Mikhail's counterpart, and they are of the blue ray. They are essentially the queen and king of spiritual cleansing. When you use her, she shows up. When he shows up, they're immediately fearful, and it's a fight. You're gonna have a fight on your hands. When she shows up, and we didn't have the assistance of the feminine for quite some time, up until about 2014, except for about 3 rays of light, which was the blue, the yellow, and the pink. But for the other 12 we have access to on the planet, that wasn't until like late 2013, early 2014 when that happened. So part of what makes it easier is she shows up with compassion and faith and love. She comes up with this energy of acceptance, and everything, it doesn't matter if you're of the light or of the dark, you were drawn towards that connection. We all remember that because we all come from light. It's sort of like when Spirit has mentioned to me, there's 2 different paths to source. You can go through the light and you can go through the dark. It's just the light is a lot more fun. The dark, you're going to have a lot more suffering and it's just a heavier, longer, different kind of process. And it's just different. I don't recommend going that way. I recommend the light because it just feels better. Again, like I said, it's like less suffering. But if you go and you've got faith that shows up for spiritual cleansing, and Mikhail's there too, but they don't really sense him because her loving presence is so strong. They're attracted to her, and there's no threat. And then, there's some work that happens there, and Mikhail comes forward, and they're not scared of him. So then, of course, there's, the choice of where it is that they want to go based on free will choice. They ask these beings, where do you want to go? Do you want to return back to the light or source or however? But that's a whole different, kind of ball game in terms of how that's played. But the point is, one, if you just use Mikhail and you forget the feminine and it's not balanced and it's just, this fight and this forced sort of situation, it takes 45 minutes to an hour for a full cleanse for something like that. Sometimes multiple sessions, depending on how you go about it. But once faith came in, and faith is the first one that you're working with, that tends to take right about 4 to 5 minutes. It sometimes can take up to 45, depending on what it is you're working with. But the main point here is, when you focus on something as if it's the problem, it takes a lot longer for it to go to like release, because you're kind of attached to its identity. Compared to when you see something as, a potential to be released. You've forgiven it, you've accepted it. Like with your emotions, when you accept your emotions, you acknowledge the emotions. Even if you can see the emotions with love and compassion, it's going to shift everything. So when it comes to like one-to-one work, and there's lots of different things I do in one-to-ones, but when it comes to the talking portion, when we spend more time discussing what it is, where you want to go, and what it is you want to do, you feel better. The practitioner feels better. And they're just like, Saint Germain has literally said, you can heal through these manifestation workshops, whether you are, in a group or whether or not you are in one-to-one. It doesn't really matter. That's something that we're going to be doing in terms of my group healing membership that's available on my website. It just says healing membership up on the top on theresamonroe.com if you're interested. It's something that we're going to be, focusing on at least on a monthly basis. But that's kind of where they want to take things and let you really can heal through manifestation. There's no longer a need to suffer through the past or relive it or keep telling those stories, because the main key piece to this is if you are still telling the stories over and over, it does show where the traumas are, and it shows where the patterns are, but you're not feeling any better. So if you're going and telling all your friends all your complaining stories, Some women are seeing this right now, where women are not hanging out with each other if there's as much complaining, and they're hanging out more with women that are more empowering of one another. There's a real shift happening within the feminine collective there. So my main, kind of point, my main story they're stating and they're laughing, is, yeah, so there's a different way. They're going to be shifting modalities away from suffering and the need to suffer to heal, into being parts of, it's funny, they're talking to me while I'm doing this, and they're like, yeah, by the way, we need you to help the collective with this. And I'm just like, can I speak? But it's an interesting thing, trying to have like multiple conversations with light beings at the same time. However, if that's something that that really resonates with you, and and it's new, but I'm here to tell you, this is like from problem-based thinking to solution-based thinking is going to be a shift within the collective over the next couple of years. And if it's something that you're feeling drawn towards as a practitioner, or just one-on-one in your own life, get in touch with me, because I would love to see if working together would be right, but or be like a good fit for you. But yeah, it's interesting watching the feminine collective shift, because it's super simple, but not always super easy to break that pattern. But there are ways to do it with, some of the healing. And so like with some of my female friends, I've noticed that more are gathering together that are empowering each other, versus some are going through isolation a little bit more that are not being part of the separation. They just need to realize, if you're feeling a little bit isolated, think about how you're thinking within yourself about yourself and about others, and then figure out, okay, do I need to see somebody about, being competitive? Because it's okay. There's roots to that you can work through, that I can help you with one-to-one. And, in our, healing sessions for the monthly healing groups, which actually has more than one healing per month. But it isn't just to plug that sort of community and how things have really shifted there. It's also to let you know, if you're looking for a new tribe of women, or maybe you've already found them and you're noticing it's feeling better when it's a tribe that's empowering one another, because that's really how we're going to be healing most of the feminine collective and the feminine within the masculine, and the abuse of the masculine energy and the feminine energy for all of us, really. But more so when we're gathering more together, has to do with how we can support one another. And it's okay, because when that's happening, if that's new to you, sometimes your competitive stuff's going to come up, or your jealousy and that sort of thing. That's when you come see someone to be able to say, okay, this is how we shift that mindset, and this is how we heal that, and this is, how we change some of our thinking. And sometimes it's as simple as just telling a new story, sometimes, about where it is you want to go with something. Instead of telling that story, well, when I was younger and this and that and that and the other, that's okay to tell that story and acknowledge it and say, okay, that's what happened. Here's the emotions coming up with that, and then go head down the direction of, here's where I'm going to go with this. And I'm going to work with the rays of light to help heal my parents for letting me scream as a child when I was younger and not listening to their intuition, and these patterns that it's created of internal anger as an adult for some of us. There's stuff like that. They're saying that's kind of hit the nail on the head for some people with some kind of repressed anger, not getting their needs met, and never learning how to self-soothe, because it's not natural for, certain ages to be asked to self-soothe. It's just you're meant at a certain age to have emotional, loving, physical support. So anyway, I understand that that's a hot topic. That's just something in terms of how the angelics consider it. Because something that you're going to notice with the angelics is that they're always there. They're the parent that will always show up in the middle of the night if you're screaming to soothe you. It's just, they've got very strong opinions about that. And that's come up in the collective for a discussion. But anyway, we're segueing. So if collective support is something that you are drawn towards, there is the monthly healing membership with things that have stuff like, you know, I'll come on live and do like a card draw, or, you know, post something that says, you want a card for something, you need a reading on something, click that, and we'll just, you know, it's just, it's definitely going to be an interesting, fun time for people to be able to support one another, and men are welcome. So if that's something that's interesting. So I wanted to get on here and talk about how storytelling is different, how you can literally heal through manifestation. It is, it's different. You don't have to visit the past to create the future, although, you know, there are ways to still do that with ease. So if you still want a karmic clearing session, we can work together. And sometimes that is appropriate, I have noticed, but to be quite honest with you, thoughts and how you tell the story will be completely different. So I hope that's helpful. Sending you lots of love. Bye.